That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Promising Young Woman, the directorial debut of Emerald Fennell. Isn't that a lovely name?
Yes.
Who is, of course...
Well, because when I think of emerald, I think of food. And then when I think of fennel...
I think of
well-seasoned things, yeah.
She is probably best known for writing Killing Eve, one of the writers on that series. She also played Camilla Parker Bowles in The Crown.
Everyone's talking about The Crown.
Yes, this premiered at Sundance in 2020, and it will be released in theaters, courtesy of Focus Features, on Christmas Day. A little counter-programming.
This is not a family film.
No.
But I enjoyed it.
I did as well.
The story is about a woman named Cassie, who's played by...
Carey Mulligan.
Do I know her?
You should.
I liked her.
You never saw Mudbound?
No.
But, I mean...
Is that with Mary J. Blige?
Yeah. In Education was a big one she was in. She was in, Shame. She's been in all kinds of stuff.
Anyway, this lady plays Cassie. Mm-hmm. So Cassie is supposed to be turning 30. I know she's a little older than that, but so this 30-year-old lady...
Not by that much.
She's a little elderly, but she, 7 years prior, we find out, dropped out of medical school. Mm-hmm. She dropped out of medical school because she was in attendance with her longtime childhood friend Nina, and Nina was the victim, we understand, of sexual assault. Mm-hmm. And we also understand that Nina may have committed suicide as a result of the trauma.
Well... Yeah, a combination of things, the system failing her.
Yeah. So that loss and grief and perhaps Cassie's inability to trust the institution that didn't advocate for her friend causes Cassie to drop out of med school. Mm-hmm. So for the past 7 years, she's been living at home, working at a coffee shop with her boss/friend played by Laverne Cox.
Mm-hmm. Gail.
But Cassie's main sort of thing that she does in her free time is she pursues men who are looking to take advantage of women. And how she does that is she goes out to parties, bars, clubs, and pretends to be intoxicated or inebriated, lets men pick her up, take her home, attempt to have sex with her, and when they do, she freaks them out, whether through violence or telling them that she's going to report them. We don't see her kill anyone.
No, but she has a little black book where she has a little mark for everybody she's done this to, and there are a lot of check marks.
So she's a crusader.
Mm-hmm.
But things change because one day while she's at work at the coffee shop, a man walks in, played by Burnham, mm-hmm. and he's a med school classmate who finished and is now a pediatric surgeon. Mm-hmm. He recognizes her and basically says he's always liked her and would love to take her on a date. She's not interested, but he whittles her down and she agrees. They go on a few dates. That's going well. But on their very first encounter, Ryan is Beau's character's name. Ryan mentions the name of a guy named Al, mm-hmm. and Carey is triggered. So we presume that Al is the guy responsible for the abuse against her friend Nina, mm-hmm. which is correct. So now the tides change and Cassie is on a mission to get revenge. So then the film starts going in chapters. Mm-hmm. So she's after, obviously, Al. Another female played by Brie Larson.
Alison Brie.
Something. Who was also a classmate. The attorney who defended...
Alfred Molina.
Al. So,
the dean.
And then the dean of the med school,
Connie Britton.
who didn't do anything, didn't discipline or kick out these boys who assaulted her friend. So she's doing all that. Mm-hmm. But things culminate. We'll get into the little scenarios, but she kind of gets revenge on all of them. But things take a turn when the Brie lady provides Cassie with video of the night Nina was assaulted mm-hmm. at this party with a bunch of drunk guys. And whose presence do we find on this video but Ryan, mm-hmm. her new little boyfriend.
And they've already said they loved each other.
And they're already in love. So obviously Cassie is bothered. So mm-hmm. she goes to confront Ryan and says if you don't tell me where Al, because she's also been stalking Al and finds out he's getting married. If you don't tell me where Al's bachelor party is, I'm going to send this video to everyone you know and ruin you. So he tells her. Cassie shows up to this bachelor party, which is in a cabin in the woods. She drugs all the guys except for Al. She then handcuffs Al, and it appears that she's trying to scare him, but also she wants to carve Nina's name onto this guy's body. But before she can do that...
Major spoiler.
He breaks free and kills her. And then this fucking monster decides that he, with another buddy who wakes up the next morning and sees her dead, these two fools decide to dispose of the body. So they take her out to the middle of the woods and burn her, and then proceed to have the wedding a few days later. But the real gag is Cassie had... So the lawyer who she had confronted kind of was expecting her because he knew he had spent a life defending awful people. She sort of like... She sends him the video so that he can make sure that it's disseminated to the proper authorities. And she also has scheduled text, which we see to Ryan specifically, saying like, the jig is up, like I may be gone, but this is not the last you're gonna see of me. So the final scene in the film are law enforcement descending onto the wedding. We see them arrest Al, but presumably they're all in trouble. The end.
To a crashing Juice Newton Angel of the Morning on the soundtrack.
Well, so I have a lot of notes, but the music I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, they had
an acoustic version of
Toxic. Also a sweet use of the Paris Hilton song.
Yeah, Stars Are Blind. They have a really interesting sort of, I don't know how you would refer to it, like EDM mix of It's Raining Men.
Yeah, the Weather Girls.
I don't even know where to begin. I think the story itself is very interesting because we don't ever really... It's not confirmed what happened to Nina. And the sexual assault is something that Nina... Because I think the issue for Cassie is that when the dean sort of explains why Cassie confronts the dean after she's somewhat kidnapped the dean's daughter to make her feel like you should know how it feels to not know where your daughter is, and then no one will believe you.
And how different it is when it's somebody you care about.
Someone you care about. But the dean says, well, I'm sorry, you know, like these boys, I'm not going to ruin their lives over some he said, she said nonsense, which obviously does not play well for Cassie. But I think as the audience, you know, whatever my opinion is, it's like, we don't really know. But the effects of it and the way these guys were allowed to just kind of move on is really disturbing. So I think that in itself is a really interesting like conversation to have after the film is done.
There are a lot of conversations I think to be had. You know, if you're talking about the dean's excuses for giving these boys the benefit of the doubt, but not the young woman.
Right.
You know, it's like maybe there have to be enough young men's lives ruined so that these situations absolutely do not keep happening, because otherwise they will.
Well, that's a good point, because I was getting so frustrated hearing these guys, because all of them say, we were kids.
We were drunk.
We were kids. Yeah. Like, you weren't kids. You were in med school. You were whole ass adults.
I think the most, I guess, ironic moment is when she has Al tied to the bed, and she's already mentioned the video, that she has this video, and he's talking about how it's a young man's worst nightmare to face these accusations. It's like, but you did it. Like, you did it. You already acknowledged
it. And then she says, what do you think a woman's worst nightmare is? Like, so I thought the story itself and the storytelling is very effective.
It's effective because it does not... I did not have any of the cathartic moments that I thought I would have. In fact, like, I left for quite a while after this film just feeling really bummed out and bothered, which I think is the effect. Yeah. And it sets you up in a way to think that, oh, this, even the chapter breakdown, it's like, oh, we're going to feel like Kill Bill, this cathartic revenge. And it's not. It has the opposite effect, because you become invested in this young woman, and then like kind of a horrific murder scene. Yeah,
I was really bothered by the scene where Cassie's killed, because she's smothered by a pillow, and Al is like, because he's still handcuffed to the bed, and she's laying in the bed, and he's like on her with like his knee in her face with the pillow, and it takes a long time.
And you can hear her crying. Yeah,
and you hear her crying. That was really hard to watch, but I think very effective. I like how the film looks.
Oh, so it was shot by Benjamin Krakoun, and we recently reviewed some other work he's done. He lensed Monsoon.
Oh, which I thought, that's the only good thing about that movie is how it looks, actually.
And he also lensed which is another film I just referenced, Beast with Johnny Flynn, who played David Bowie in Stardust.
Okay,
which is definitely a film I recommend checking out.
Good job, sir. As a man. Well, we don't know how he identifies, but good job, Benjamin. There was one scene in particular where Cassie is in her bedroom and she's looking at her laptop, and the light from the laptop, like, it's illuminating her silhouette and then kind of like pulsing. I thought that was really good. I like Bo Burnham from his YouTube days. I mean, I'm sure he's still on YouTube, but I thought he was effective. It's
got a lot of comedians in there, which is also playing with their expectations. You got Jennifer Coolidge as the mother, Molly Shannon as Nina's mother, Adam Brody, Christopher Mintz-Plasse as a young man that's trying to have sex with her while she's inebriated, who has a lot of interesting film posters as well. I noticed.
Is that McLovin?
McLovin, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
He had Panique. There was a really good Fellini poster. The parents are. It's like in the middle of the afternoon and they're watching Night of the Hunter. Clancy Brown and Jennifer Coolidge, and they also made Coolidge brunette, which.
But you were saying there are a lot of sort of people we would expect comedy from, but I wouldn't say this film is like a comedy. It's slightly humorous.
It's slightly, but very morbid.
But like not a dark comedy.
No, definitely not. I almost didn't like the Alfred Molina part where he breaks down and asks forgiveness.
I wrote that down. That was a bit much.
But it ends up working. It's kind of the little glimpse of hope that you get that's setting up what she needs to help her for the finale. But I don't know. It wasn't what I was expecting. I think it's an important conversation piece, and I think that might actually make its point better than something like that documentary, The Hunting Grounds, which very explicitly talks about, college rape on campuses. When I was an undergrad, there were several young women I knew that were in that situation. And I think anybody that's gone to college knows that. I was also, this does so much better what Black Christmas, the second remake, was trying to set up too, with Imogen Poots having survived the sexual assault where no one would believe her. I don't know. I think it does a very fine job with very serious, troubling realities.
Two things that kind of threw me off a little bit were, one, the relationship between Cassie and Nina is not very clearly defined. And I don't think it needs to be necessarily, because strangers advocate for victims all the time. But I think this character sort of upends her life and it comes to a grinding halt because of this thing that happened to her friend. And we really don't get a sense at all of what this friend meant to her, except we assume everything. And that seemed a little odd to me. Did they grow up like sisters, or? I
was assuming that with the heart necklace and all the pictures of childhood. And the parents make several comments, both sets of them, about, because Clancy Brown says Nina was like a daughter to us as well.
Yes, it's very clear they were super close, but I think Cassie's, this thing has affected Cassie so greatly, and there really is it's not so much a gripe because it makes sense to me. It was clear that they were close. I guess I wanted to understand more.
Sure, and I think that, but a point you made right after we watched it was she is doing the exact opposite of what the rest of the world is doing regarding Nina, is just forgetting about her, and she's intensely keeping her memory and name alive by going in this personal crusade that's very toxic and damaging for her.
So it works well. My other gripe was I really hated Cassie's hair so much.
It felt like a 1990s Valerie Bertinelli hairdo to me.
Especially, there's one scene where she's saying, I wrote down, because someone's saying oh, you don't want anything, and then it's well, she clearly wants highlights because her hair is very blonde and highlighted.
I think if I have any gripes about it, it's the fact that I'm not made to understand why, after all this time, just hearing the name of the rapist.
Yes.
And obviously it all works in her favor that she did wait, because the Alison Brie scenario is what gives her the video that she needs to kind of clinch everything together. But yeah, why wait? Why not exact vengeance on these pigs?
Yeah, because she's putting all her energy into like teaching all these randos a lesson. It did seem a little odd that she wouldn't have thought to go after all of the people she ends up going after much sooner. But otherwise, I enjoyed this film. I thought it was very good. I would give it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I agree.
All right, bye.
Bye.